Hello, everybody, and welcome. It's another edition of Let's Talk Buffs. I missed the tail end of last week. We had Zach Seegers subbing in, and you guys still showed love. You guys are still showing love. If you guys can please, before I even get started into everything, just give a like to the show. You subscribe to the show, something like that. Our comments, even leave a comment. This is what's going to help Carter and I grow here on this YouTube channel. So please show us some love. But Carter, how are you doing today, man?
Yeah, I'm good. CU slotted into the Big 12 championship as of now. We're ranked 18th. So I mean, it keeps getting better week by week for CU, and that means my weeks keep getting better.
That's exactly it. People don't understand the love for football. I know that the people watching this video understand. A lot of people don't, though, man. Colorado loses that kills my Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I'm done for on all those days. I'm not having fun anymore. So they got the W. It was big. But let's get into some of the recruiting stuff, Carter. Juju 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 was a crystal ball. We've talked about him plenty of times on here. And then so was Carter. Carter Smith was a crystal ball to the bus. What do you have about Juju in particular?
Yeah, we talked about Juju on Friday's show with Zach, just what this would mean for the program, and then we got a ton of news from Juju over the weekend. He's been crystal balled by a ton of people. On three national analysts, Steve Wiltfong, who's the big one, who has like a 90% hit rate. Simmons, their other big guy over there. Adam Munster Tigers, CU's local 247 insider, 247's national guy Tom Loy, and USC insider Scott Schrader. So I mean, he's just been picking up crystal balls left and right. And it really seems like as we get closer and closer, this thing is really trending in CU's direction.
Absolutely. It does feel like that. The more you hear about it, it feels like that. Even going back to this this offseason, it's kind of felt like CU has had that outside shot. So this is kind of what I feel like has happened. It felt like this offseason, all right, he didn't want to commit specifically because I need proof of concept. I need you guys to show me that you're improving here. And then the Buffs came out and they are winning football games right now. They're playing really good. So this is a big step for him. I'm sure. I mean, there's no place like Colorado when it comes to replacing Shador at quarterback. I think Juju, he would step on campus here in Colorado and be a star immediately. He would be treated as a star, whether he plays good or bad. The bad would be the worst thing in the world, and the good would be he's the greatest thing in the world, right? He just gets a different attention level here at Colorado, and that's a huge selling point. That pictures of Shador handing him the keys, that's like ridiculous, legendary esque picture right now for the recruiting cycle. What other picture can you take and post it where it has more impact, just engagement wise, than a picture like that does? Colorado is the talk of the town. And when you're able to take over that, be the starting quarterback for that team, it's massive. So it was just give me proof of concept that you guys can play good, and I will go there. And that's what Colorado is doing right now. They have that proof of concept. Um, I think you bring some good points up. We were talking before the show. So now it looks like he is going on a trip to Georgia. To me, what does that sound like, Carter? It sounds like Jordan Seaton all over again.
Exactly. Last year, if you guys remember the whole Jordan Seaton saga, he leaves us off his top list, and then all of a sudden we reappear when he commits on Skip Bayless's and Shannon Sharp's show. A few weeks before signing day, and then all of a sudden, a couple days before early national signing day, he gets a crystal ball to Maryland, his hometown, and he ends up coming to Colorado. I see this visit hometown. Same thing with Seaton. Juju is from Georgia. It's an unofficial visit. I don't really see this as a big deal for Colorado. Just another step in Julian's process, because I do think that they have his family especially have really done well in how they've approached this process for him.
Yeah, I mean it's the playbook. I don't want to blow up the playbook, but we're a relatively small podcast, Carter, so I'm gonna blow it up anyway. The playbook is for Colorado's big flips is we're going to make it theatrical. We're going to make it a big deal. We want everyone to believe something else, and then Colorado see that player put the hat on, and it's be like, whoa, right? Because they want to use that attention to recruit other players, which I think is a good strategy. Colorado already gets all the eyes, something like that for a guy, a high school kid, right? That's what it is. It's a high school kid coming in and seeing all of the attention you get is cool. We brought up Jordan Seaton. By the end of that process, Jordan Seaton was no longer in Colorado, or Colorado was no longer in Jordan Seaton's top 5 before he put that hat on. Let me tell you the play. This is what's going to happen. It's going to be he go visit the Georgia, and then you're going to see some On3 or 247 or whatever article letting us know how much he loved Georgia. He's going to be like, oh my God, Georgia's the best ever. They're real contenders now, blah, blah, blah. And then you're going to see, oh my God, Juju's on a media appearance. What's happening there? You're going to see 3 hats that probably aren't even Colorado. And then under the table, here comes a Colorado hat. It's going to be something like that. It's going to be, we're setting it up to where he isn't going there, and then he probably does. That's just my guess. I feel like if he doesn't go to Colorado, Carter, this will be a clip. But yeah, this is just how I feel right now. I'll stand by it.
I don't see it happening. I mean, it's such weird timing, and this has been such a weird recruitment process. I mean, by now, any other player you would think that he would finish out his recruiting. But you're probably exactly right. I mean, where do you go in the country? I mean, Georgia has been one of the top dogs in college football recent years. Hometown kid. I mean, all Georgia fans obviously want him. He's from Georgia. You have guys like Pete Thamel, who's huge for college football. Like, he's basically the Schefter of college football, posting on Twitter that Julian Lewis will be visiting Georgia. So I think you could be exactly right. I mean, this Colorado team does everything different, and the way they go about recruits it's big time.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. So that brings me to another USC commit in Carday Smith, the tackle out of there. Big time recruit. Colorado has obviously been all over him since he took his visit down here. It feels like that is one of the main guys they're going after and doing like a full court press. He was also logged a crystal ball to Colorado. And I really don't even feel like he's doing a great job at hiding on where he wants to go. He's reposting everything Jordan Seaton all over social media, everything Jordan Seaton. And he's one of those guys. I don't think Colorado goes out and recruits players that they don't think can make a year one impact. You saw it with Jordan Seaton this last year. Jordan Seaton as a true freshman, he might be more of the exception than the rule because he's playing so good. But hey, Carday Smith, you can come down here and compete for a starting job in year one. These other programs, you're really not even going to give the opportunity to compete for it. You're going to probably redshirt. That it's a unique situation in Colorado, and I think honestly the Juju stuff probably helps Carday Smith make his decision, or vice versa, right? What do you have on the Carday Smith situation, Carter?
Yeah, completely similar to Julian. All the top national insiders logged a crystal ball for him to flip to Colorado, along with Auburn insider, where he was originally committed. This seems like him and Juju go hand in hand. This is why the Georgia visit is so weird. They did their CU visit together. Carday Smith is a guy who I imagine he looks at this CU team and says, yeah, I can come in here and start day one. And I think fans and CU people should trust Phil Loadholt's judgment of who can start day one, because they nailed it with Jordan Seaton, and it looks like they nailed it with a walk-on. I mean, we'll get to the game later in Cash Cleveland, but I think Phil Loadholt's doing a phenomenal job, and this is a guy that Phil Loadholt has been all over these past months. So I would expect Carday Smith. I feel better about Carday Smith being a buff than I do Juju right now, although both of them are very high. I think it's a 99% chance you see Carday Smith flip to Colorado.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I definitely could see that happen. I think it's very realistic just with how much he's interacting with Colorado. Like, it's everything Colorado. You don't see anything USC, you see a ton Colorado. Like that's what's happening right now. The crystal ball is just another layer on top of it. Um, I think they have a really good shot here. They have a really good shot here, and this is a highly touted offensive lineman. One of those offensive linemen that all the schools in the country would be happy to have part of their program this next year. So it would be a big one. Both these flips would be huge if that ends up happening. I would say both of them, I would say like 80%. I would say 80% confident that both of them are above next year. I feel confident about it. Just reading everything and just trying to weigh both sides and everything like that. Everything I've seen is Colorado to this point. Uh, let's get into this last game, though. We played Texas Tech. This Texas Tech team was good. I think this was a closer game than the score may even indicate. This was closer to the end. During the middle, it felt like the Buffs really should have blown them out, but it came down to the wire. This Texas Tech game was good. So let's talk about Colorado's offense first. Carter, how did you think they matched up with Texas Tech's defense? What stood out to you?
Yeah, we talked about it Friday with Zach. They were going to let you put up a lot of points. They were the only team in the Big 12 going into this that both scored over 300 and allowed over 300 points on the year in the Big 12, and they let them do that. I mean, Shedeur had a big game numbers wise, but they dug themselves in a pretty big hole early. I mean, your first two offensive plays, you have a false start and you have a muffed snap from Hank Zielinskis that would eventually go on to get him replaced by Cash Cleveland. It was rough, and we've seen CU really dig themselves in holes like that. But I think they had a lot of players shine. Will Shepherd, most notably, I think had his best game as a Buff. 8 catches, 79 yards, an insane one-handed touchdown. He also had some screen plays where he was really showing off his yak ability. And that was a big momentum shifter. I think the O-line played a great game. Cash Cleveland, had a breakout game. He looks like your center going forward. I mean, if Hank can't figure out these snap problems, and Wester and Travis both get in the end zone. I feel like we say that nearly every week. But you put up 41 points, and I know you had the defensive touchdown. But about what we expected from this CU offense.
So I agree with you that it is what I expected against a normal team. I think CU is so good offensively. They have so much talent offensively, Carter, that 31 really should be like the expectation on any given Saturday for this team. It really is. Playing this Texas Tech team, I felt like they made it a little more difficult on themselves than they had to in some scenarios. I felt just watching the film, it felt like Texas Tech gave them more pre-snap than I think the Buffs were anticipating. They were in a lot of too high shell, and what to anyone that doesn't know what that means is we're starting in a cover 2 look, so we have 2 safeties up high, right? But after snap, they could rotate into something different. So now it's cover 3. Now I have my free safety and my strong safety, right? And now they're rotating down after snap, and I felt like it confused the Buffs a little bit in their passing game, which is why the Buffs reverted. And this is how great their receivers are, Carter. Their receivers are ridiculous. That wide receiver screens were like the magic potion for Colorado's offense. If they got one of those dudes in space, it was going big. It didn't matter which one it was, whether it would be Will, you mentioned. He showed me more yards after catch stuff, like you said, than I've seen any other game this year, especially that first screen he caught. Man, he was a ankle tackle away from taking that for 6. He really was. LaJohntay did take his to 6. So did Travis take his for 6. These are all wide receiver screens. It just shows how great these wide receivers are after the catch. They're all amazing. I did think they confused the offense, though, a little bit. I don't know whether they put that all the way on Shedeur or Pat Shermer or whatever the case may be, but it did feel like it confused them because sometimes it would be in one high, sometimes they're in two high shell, and they're rotating out of it and giving different looks and confusing the quarterback. But it lent itself to Shedeur, I think, being a little more gun shy than I'm usually seeing him. It was, okay, you have a throw there. It is kind of tight coverage, but he isn't just throwing it. Okay, I'm holding it for a second. All right, I don't love it anymore now. And now he's running around trying to make a play happen. He held the ball a little lot, and that's kind of what led him to hold the ball longer than he usually does, in my opinion. It was just how many different pre-snaps looks they were throwing at the Buffs. Now, with that being said, the offensive line was terrific. I really think they were terrific this game. The plays where Shador was getting pressured fast, it was like, hey, they're throwing one more than you guys have to block. Other than that, I felt like they picked up their stunts really well. I felt Seaton dominated at left tackle in pass pro. And I'm not just saying that. He dominated. He locked that dude up. Didn't have anything for him the whole day. You mentioned Cash Cleveland. Cash, much better than you would anticipate from a walk-on true freshman. Like, of course, he had his struggles here and there, but a walk-on true freshman, I expect this guy to be a bum. He was good. Like, he was solid. You know what I mean? I'm seeing a player. I was like, maybe this is a guy I can develop and make the future starter at center for the Buffs and be a real contributor on this football team. So I thought the offensive line looked really good. Phillip Houston's having an underrated season, weighing in all of like 260 pounds or whatever he is. These guys are playing pretty good. So shout out to Phil Loadholt.
Yeah, huge props to Phil Loadholt. I think they've definitely found their formula as of recent. You know, those two tackles just staying put. Those are your starting tackles, and then rotating your interior. I mean, I would expect more Cash Cleveland after that game, but rotating around Tyler Brown and Justin Mayers and Khalil Benson and Kareem Harden, just keeping that rotation going. It seems to be working out well for them. They've given up really no sacks compared to what we would be thinking as a typical CU fan. So yeah, like you said, huge props to Phil Loadholt. And going back on the total offense, I think we saw a lot more on their scoring drives, longer drives, more plays. I think it took them a little bit more. You mentioned it with Shador being less like shot heavy. He was kind of just letting his receivers create, struggled to get the run game going more. But I think Shador showed a lot off with his legs in this game, obviously getting that rushing touchdown. And he was able to get some plays where he would scramble up the middle for 5 or 7 yards and get a first down. So I thought the offense played well as a whole.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And I mean, you're ultimately right in this. Like, they played well. I'm just looking at it like, damn, they have all these weapons. They have all this talent. I want 50 in this game. That's the way I'm looking at it, because it's like they should to me.
I will let me get one more thing in here.
All right, go ahead.
I think this was a very poorly officiated game from the jump. We saw pregame clips of them telling Shador that he needs to change his clothes. Travis and the refs were having some weird deal before the game where Travis was faking handing a ball to a ref. So I would not be surprised if there were a lot of missed defensive pass interferences or missed holding calls, just because it was such a weirdly officiated game.
It really was. Did you see that? This is completely off topic from the officiating. Did you see that ball boy try to pull the ball away?
Yes, bro. It was, oh man,
Who did he try to pull the ball away from?
Shiloh. It was Shiloh's touchdown, and
The
you see,
game-winning touchdown.
yeah. There's like a minute left. Like, dude, come on, bro. And you see Shador get in his face, and you saw Bucky get in his face too. With how the environment was, like, I don't know, all emotions were riled, and it was kind of a mess.
All right, I usually don't do this, but I'm gonna read a tweet because it's just so ridiculous to me. This is like somebody who is like condemning Shiloh and Shador and the whole interaction. Because for those that don't know, I'll give you context. A ball boy tried to slap the ball out of Shiloh's hand and take it from him on what is a game-winning touchdown. And trying to take it from him. And then it led to Shador and some other players getting it. And I'm like, what are you doing? Right. So I'm going to read you from a former ball boy who is condemning Shador and Shiloh's actions. He says, "You mess with one of us, you get all of us." As a former ball boy and current equipment manager, I stand with Texas Tech's ball boy. Ball boys equipment and student matters are no pushovers. I will not tolerate this. We do not care. That's one thing we have to say right off the bat. We do not care. Saying I will not tolerate this as like, and we all stand together as the Ball Boys, bro.
It's
We
like
don't.
Shiloh, it's like he wasn't holding the ball for so long either. They were still walking back to the sideline. They weren't even to the sideline yet. The ball boy walks onto the field to slap it out of his hands. It was that whole fan and ball boy and just all of Texas Tech. It was such a mess. I am not a Texas Tech fan anymore. They were being weird, throwing shit on the field. It's just I'm done with Texas Tech.
Yeah, the tortillas was weird. I think their whole thing is weird. I don't like any of it. Let's move over. Yeah, okay, wait. Actually, I have a little more on offense. LaJohntay Wester. I want to highlight him every week. This is the week I'm just going to do it though. LaJohntay is as tough as nails, right? You look at him and he's a slider framed dude. He's only like 5'11", and weight wise, he's got to be like 170 pounds or something like that. He's a smaller weight dude. And weight's big at wide receiver, especially when you're talking about catching the ball over the middle of the field, playing against linebackers and those heavier guys that like to hit. LaJohntay is so tough, man. Every time I see a play where it's like he shouldn't be able to do that, he does it. Whether it be catching a ball over the middle, getting hit, right back up, he's doing the whole first down deal, whatever the case, like he's getting destroyed. Another part of his game is he's a hell of a blocker in the screen game. Everything that you say he shouldn't be able to do, his mindset's just so I can do it. I'm going to do it really, really good. He's such an asset for this Colorado team in blocking and catching over the middle. He is a real NFL player. I don't know where he goes. I would love to see LaJohntay at the Senior Bowl. I would love to see that. If we can get LaJohntay down there at the Senior Bowl, he's going to make people look crazy in one-on-ones. That's his game. And then on top of that, I really do think we're going to see some coaches fall in love with his attitude. He is such a baller.
Yes, I saw an interview. I believe it was on the Reach the People media. He does player interviews. His biggest thing coming to CU was wanting to play with a pro quarterback like Shador, and 2, wanting to win. And you can tell that guy wants to win. He is a dog, super reliable. He's probably, when you watch the well-off videos, he gets more hype scoring than anybody else. He's always saying, I do this. So it's awesome seeing him take a risk coming here and leaving his Florida home and coming in, but it's really paying off for him, and his draft stock has skyrocketed.
It really has. But man, Jim Nagy and everyone at the Senior Bowl, please send LaJohntay a invite. I promise you he would impress. I promise you he would do good in those one-on-one interviews. I promise you he would do good in all the blocking stuff. Like, LaJohntay is a player that deserves a spot in the NFL, and he will. It's just I even think that his stock would skyrocket once he gets in an environment like that. So please, 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 I'm going to even send him this clip maybe. I don't know. Last part here. What did you think of the late game situation? It felt like that's what made this game closer than what it should have been, Carter, where the Buffs just couldn't figure out their offense late game stuff. And I have to bring it up because this has been for a few weeks now. It's really been for the whole season. If they're in a close game, late game, and they're not trailing, in a trailing situation, it feels like Colorado's kind of, this is my bag. This is what we're going to do. When you have the lead in the situational football, it's fourth quarter, not much time left. They have a hard time executing. What do you make of that? Is this a Pat Shurmur thing? Is this a CU Buffs talent thing? What do you think it is?
I think they know, and the opposing defense knows, they cannot run the football.
Yeah.
And I think that fits right into late game. They have got to find a way, whether it's these screen games or even just sticking to their normal game plan would honestly be better than what we've seen. They've almost handed some of these games away. They got fortunate that the defense balled out. We had that Nakai Hill interception and then the strip sack by BJ Green and the strip sack by Arden Walker. Like, they turned it over a lot. But one of these times when you play a good team, They're going to capitalize on this. So it's got to be a Shermer thing. They have to find a way to finish these games and have long drives, because they can't run the football. They either got to figure out how to run the football or figure out a way to not run the football but be very efficient and have longer drives than what they have been.
You're absolutely right. That's the key. If they can't run the football in those situations, because I mean, if we're being honest, everybody's loading up against the pass the rest of the game, which is why you're able to see the run game work. And in situations when it's, hey, you're running the ball and I know you're running the ball, they haven't been able to run the ball. It just the entire season, even in the games when they look great, running the football. In those situations where teams aren't saying we're more afraid of your pass than we are the run, it gets kind of spooky. So how do I supplement for that? It's tough. I'm not going to sit there and say this is an easy fix for Pat Shermer. It's not easy. You have to go a different style at the end of this game, and you have to figure something out that's different than your average college football team. But he has to do it. The Buffs absolutely have to figure out this late game situation thing. They need to be able to put these opponents away easier than they have. I'm not exactly sure what the answer is. I mean, they threw a screen this last week in a late game situation, and it ended up being a drop. It's like, you just can't have that. We're trying to get the clock running here, and you drop the football. Those are mistakes you can't have.
One thing I wish they would integrate a little bit more in these style of time management ways is going under center a little bit more. You hardly ever see this team go under center. Go under center, give Shador a chance to go out on a bootleg and get LaJohntay coming across on a drag. I mean, LaJohntay's super reliable hands. Travis is pretty, I mean, he had that drop on the screen, but he's pretty reliable. And just give Shador the chance to make a very safe play without telling the defense what you're going to do, like they have been running the ball.
Yeah, and you know what? You'd almost even say, hey, Shador, if you need to take a sack on this play, something like that, where we can pass the next play and try to get it. That's one of the luxuries CU has this year. They've consistently, like in that first drive this last game, right? They had the false start to start the game. And then Hank did the snap, which is the craziest thing. I don't understand that. I'll save it. I'll get on my high horse about it. I don't understand how that keeps happening. But where it's a snap and no one's expecting the snap and it's a drop and, I have to fall on the ball type thing. CU's receivers are so good at creating after the yards after catch that they're able to work themselves out of those situations. Obviously, you can't rely on it, but CU is one of the best teams, if not the best team in the country at dealing in those situations, tough situations. So maybe the next play you do go out there and throw a screen and it turns into a 16-yard gain and you make all those yards up. CU is kind of in a weird situation where they can do that. I don't know what the answer is. I almost might say just, hey, yeah, like you said, get under center. Where's the pistol been? The pistol was a big talking point earlier in this year. That'd be cool. Like even being able to run his own stretch play. That's something CU isn't able to do under shotgun. It just takes a lot out of your playbook. So I would like to see the running back lined up behind the quarterback, at least at some point. It just opens up more of your run game. Let's move on to the defense, though. Carter, what stood out to you this game? I thought this was one of the best defensive games we've seen. CU's defense, and we've said it for a while now, I think it's the strong point of this team. I think it's better than the offense. I really do. This defense is phenomenal.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think this was another game where you had big second half adjustments. Only gave up 14 points in the second half compared to Texas Tech giving up 31 points. Puts them at 7.3 points per games allowed in the second half. The D-line played amazing. I got to give credit to Mari McNeil. He had a stellar game, 1.5 sacks. He had a couple of tackles for loss where Taj Brooks just puts a great move on him. Tough. I thought they handled Taj Brooks pretty well. Definitely a different story than when they went up against their last good back, DJ Giddens. Taj Brooks had his third lowest yards per carry on the season with 4.4. That was only 0.1 away from being second lowest. Arden Walker BJ Green, Keaton Wade, all these guys getting to the quarterback. Turnovers were huge. Nikhil Green's interception, Arden Walker forcing a fumble, BJ Green forcing a fumble, and being able to recover these fumbles as well. Sacking the quarterback. This is the most Baron Morton's been sacked this season by 4 sacks. That's a big number. And I think the defense, like you said, is becoming the best unit on this football team.
Yeah. And you know what, Carter? It's just like any other week this year. I'm going to keep saying it. The reason you see plays happening, like big explosive plays for the other team, specifically because the other team ran a beater for your defense. That's the whole reason. It starting to get the reins on it earlier in the year. I was like, he needs to change. Now I'm like, okay, maybe I just take the bad with the good of you running this defense because it always ends up being a net positive for you. It never is like, oh my God, we got beat so bad and so consistently at it that we lost the game. It's always, man, the plays they got beat are this, but your defense still played great. So maybe I don't change anything. I don't know anymore. Defense was phenomenal, though. You brought up Amari. Write me down. I think he still has a year left, right? I think he's a redshirt junior.
I think,
yeah, go
yeah.
ahead.
Prime in the well-off today talked about him. I forget who he asked, but he's like, you come back next year, where you going? And somebody said second, third round for him. So he's feeling great.
Yeah, write me down as a believer for him next year. Write me down when he gets the full opportunity in there and then also gets another offseason. I'm going to be a big Amari McNeil believer this next offseason. He flashes. He's already probably their best pass rushing interior defensive lineman, I would say. He's super explosive. Even in the run, the plays that he makes are like, I beat my guy so fast that I'm in the backfield like right now. That's how he wins. It's not like Chidoze where I'm taking on a double and I'm kind of standing him up and I'm riding him across the line of scrimmage. No, Amari's beating you right now, and I'm getting in the back in the backfield. That's kind of how he wins, and he's super explosive in pass rush too. So he's a guy that I'm going to be super excited for this next offseason. You brought up the pass rush on the edges too. BJ Green, phenomenal. Like Arden Walker, really good. Like these guys are falling for you at edge. And this is all without Deion Hayes, who early in the year I thought was their best edge. It's impressive what the Bucs are doing defensively. They have depth even defensively. When you see a corner go down, you see Colton Hood come in. They have depth. Colton Hood looks like a guy that could be drafted one day too. All of these guys are really, really good on defense. I got to give a shout out to Nikhil Green for that interception. That was a ridiculous interception, man. He went up there. You never see guys go up there for the PBU on the line of scrimmage, the pass block. Let me get my hands up on this play, and then come down with the pick. Insane. I just thought the whole defense played good.
I gotta talk about Amari one more time. I forgot to mention a play when I was talking about him. That 4th and goal, man, where he just flies into the backfield and gets that stop. It is awesome to see the way this roster has been constructed playing out how Prime envisioned it. It was a lot of doubts coming in about how would this all work, and the mix of veterans with young guys. It's really proven well.
Yeah. I mean, Sam at edge, even a younger guy, he's been so good. He's taken a step forward from his days at Pitt, even. Like, he looks more down-to-down consistent. He looks like a better pass rusher. Man, this defense is really good. I mean, where's the weak spot? Like, it's hard to attack this defense, man. The only way you can really beat it, and that's what I was saying earlier, is with, hey, we know what coverage you're running, and we're going to throw a beater at you because we know what coverage you're running. That's what they do. It's all pick routes. It's different stuff like that because CU is so man heavy, which is kind of a shout out to their DBs back there, Preston Hodge, McKinley, Travis, Colton Hood. Like the fact that they're able to just say, hey, we're beating you man on man. We'll line our guys up against your guys, and we think we're better than you. It's a big shout out to the talent they have on this team. Um, I don't know. Has the national media caught on to CU's defense yet, or is it just us in Colorado?
I think they're slowly catching on, but no, not as they should be.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Just from what I've seen, I'm not going to sit there and pretend like I've watched everybody. I watch a lot of CU content. I haven't seen anybody just be like, man, this CU defense is for real, unless they're Colorado fans.
Yeah.
And I do think it's for real. I think this is a defense that could go to a different conference pretty easily and still be damn good. One of the even higher conferences, whether it be SEC or whatever the case may be, Big Ten. Colorado's defense would stand up and play competent football against any of those teams.
Hey, hopefully we'll get to find out firsthand come December.
hopefully. Well, cool guys. I do you have anything else you want to add, Carter, before we head
Oh,
out?
I do have one more thing.
Yeah, let me know.
That first touchdown, Texas Tech's first touchdown, right?
Okay. Yeah.
How was that not reviewed? I'm watching this back over and over like these last couple days.
Yeah.
I'm putting my stamp on it. That ball was out. That should have been a fumble. I can't believe it wasn't reviewed. We should have had the ball. I think Shiloh knocked that out.
Fair enough, man. It was like definitely close enough to where it's like, yeah, we got to take a look at this.
Yeah. No, they didn't even care. They just move on.
Move on, man. Got some haters out here. Who was it? It was Utah's coach. Oh, or the Big 12 coaches. Refs are the worst. We're moving our way. No, none of that. But it was some bad refing on that play. Hey, actually, before we sign out, I want to bring this up. CU now controls their own destiny. This is why this was such a big loss. Why didn't we bring that up? They control their own destiny to the Big 12 championship now. It looks like if CU wins out and BYU wins out, it would be BYU versus Colorado in the Big 12 championship. I think CU has more talent than anybody in the conference. I will stand by that over and over and over again. Of course, you can get beat any Saturday. You saw it in the Kansas State game, right? But they can match up against anybody and beat them, and they should beat them. That's my stance.
I think CU is getting better and more. They're cleaning up certain things as the season goes on, and I think it's the opposite for BYU. I think BYU is starting to slip a little bit. There's a very close game in Utah. I don't think they should have won that game. They've had a couple really close games. So I think come early December, Big 12 championship time, it's I just can't wait, man. It's going to be so fun.
It's going to be fun. And then whoever wins that gets an automatic bye into the college football playoffs, which would be crazy. And I do want to limit our expectations in that sphere, right? Us getting in the playoffs is a huge step in the direction of, hey, we are it's really good. We're heading in the right direction. Dion's amazing. All of that stuff would be true if we get in there. So
three things from that. If they get the college football playoff bid, you are likely you have Travis is I'm not gonna say he's a lock to win the Heisman, but he is going to New York. He's gonna be there. So you have that. Shador is probably the first or second QB taken in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a college football playoff bid. Those three things put CU up with any program in the country.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I do not think you're wrong. Yeah, I think you're right there. So, hey, it's awesome to see, man. I'm just excited about Colorado football right now. For those of you that don't know, Carter and I are both from Colorado, and I have been waiting for a really fun and cool college football team to emerge in this state forever. The 2016 Buffs, I think it was, with the Ahkello Witherspoon, Awuzie, Laguda, all these guys, LaVisca Chenault. You had all these dudes. It was one of my favorite teams I've watched. I tuned into every single game. It got tougher and tougher to watch. So I got to give a big shout out to all Colorado fans, whether you're new or old. I'm just happy to be here with you guys. This is a blast. And until next time, make sure you guys are tuning on Thursday. Carter and I are going to go live probably at like maybe 5:36. We'll send out a tweet when we go live or a couple days before. Let's LTB or Let's Talk Buffs, right? At Let's Talk Buffs on Twitter. And until then, see you guys.